Welcome to the Lifestyle in Esports panel. I'm going to start by having each one of our panelists here introduce themselves and just give us a quick blurb about what you do and why you're here.
Hi, I'm Rachel Feinberg, and I'm the co-founder of Ateyo with Breanne, who will tell you more about herself. We're a lifestyle clothing brand that started very much in esports and gaming, and we design technical apparel to game in.
Hi, I'm Breanne Harrison-Pollock, Rachel's co-founder of Ateyo, and I do most of the creative direction and product at Ateyo.
And I'm Kim Meltzer. I'm with Destination Esports, and I've been in the industry 9 years working with pro players and events, and have basically been building out the experience and the cultures of over like 8 or 9 titles at this point, but excited to be a part of this.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. So as we're talking about lifestyle in esports, obviously things have changed as esports has grown quite a bit, especially in the last few years. And we've seen kind of at home, a lot of people like, when you look at the professional sports side of it, you kind of have to go through a kind of set the trajectory, right? You do your minor league sports, your little league stuff. You do your high school sports, your college sports, and then if you're good enough, you get drafted into the professional leagues. With esports, that's not kind of how it works, right? With esports, you can have your 10-year-old at home playing on his computer and then qualify for the Fortnite World Cup and make millions of dollars. So being at home and having that esports life that can start at home, how does that change the lifestyle of, you come home, homework, well, now it's come home, I got to go practice for my Fortnite event, mom, what does that look like in terms of the environment at home?
I could start. I think for the way it kind of is related to our business is a lot of times like an athlete is not necessarily allowed to be sponsored in traditional sports at such a young age or, accept compensation. We do a lot of like watching small streamers on Twitch or following, the collegiate scene for like pro players that we think would become great ambassadors for Ateyo. So I think that those relationships, because like the NCAA isn't involved, we can kind of get involved a lot earlier. And so that's, I would say, how we are part of that ecosystem and how it's slightly different.
Yeah, and I think in addition to that, I think it puts a lot of responsibility on everyone in this ecosystem to really support that system and kind of encourage and help put in whatever structure can be put in place so that these people that are kind of on their own at home don't feel alone, they feel part of a community and really encouraged by everyone else here.
And yeah, and to add to that too, I think part of it is the fact that the kids have to address what and who they are, and they have a hard time doing that. And lifestyle is really showcasing who they are, whether that's a brand or an experience or a piece of clothing or whatever it is. It's just a part of who they are and showcasing that through product and experience. And whether you're at home or in an event, that's who they are. That's how they show who they are based on that.
So, when I was growing up, I had jerseys for Michael Jordan and all that kind of stuff. And these days, we see a lot of the professional players. They have jerseys, they have merchandise, they have that kind of stuff. At my school, some of it you could wear, some of it you couldn't wear. And if you wore it, you had to wear it a certain way, like you had to have a T-shirt under it or something like that. How are we seeing that in the current kind of generation where everything is digital and everybody can watch everything and see everything? And like how does that project and the clothing that they're wearing to school and wearing to the mall and movies and all of that?
Yeah, I think that's a really exciting question, and I think that's part of what's so exciting about this kind of subculture and generation is that things are so connected. And I think as esports is evolving and changing so rapidly, that expression's coming out in different ways. But there are so many different niche groups that are expressing themselves in different ways. And I think that as esports grows, it's going to become more concrete, but we're just kind of excited to be part of that change that's happening right now.
And just in a general sense of how we're so different in this world with technology, technology is learning how to digitally become that as well. So it's not just physical, it's digital. It has a whole different gameplay of what lifestyle becomes. And even more so, if you note, when we look at gamers, they're not just the 10-year-old kids. These are your hip-hop artists. These are all of these different facets of who's a gamer, but not necessarily showing it. Now we're realizing that they're actually excited to show what gaming's about and who they are and showcasing that even more. So it's much more than just technology, but technology plays a big part of that.
I think you also touched on like in traditional sports, you wear a t-shirt under a basketball jersey. I think we try to be really conscious of when we're designing something that you want to game in, and when we talk with our audience or when we game, we wear what we woke up, we get ready in the morning, you wear it to work, and then you likely are wearing that same outfit at home to game in. And a large majority of people tell us they also are then going to sleep in that outfit. And so designing clothes that are incredibly comfortable and designed to game in, but you can leave the house in, is really kind of core to our design philosophy, and really building clothing that you identify as a gamer, but is also acceptable, and you look elevated in a sense.
Now, one of the things while I was growing up, and I'll keep going back to my childhood because it was so amazing. But one of the things that when I was growing up, it was like you would go outside to play baseball, basketball, to interact with your friends and kind of get out of the house. That's no longer the case, because now a lot of your friends you talk to online, you talk to on your phone via mobile. Some of them might not even live anywhere near you. A lot of my friends that I met through esports live all around the country and all around the world. So how do you get our youth and those esports players to kind of interact in those social situations when they're only meeting up at a LAN tournament once a month or even less than that?
I think that community is incredibly important, whether it exists digitally or in person. And for us, we find it really valuable, and that community a lot of the times is like a Twitch chat around an up-and-coming streamer. And I get that's kind of like parallel to esports, but these are really focused communities around specific content creators, and they're friends with each other. They believe in each other. They believe in this content creator. And so as a brand, interacting with them kind of in that space is an honor and really been successful for us. And so I think those sorts of communities and the friendships built are incredibly valid, and they're a wonderful kind of moment to be a part of.
I can just throw in events for what I've done, all of my career. One of the things that's most exciting about esports is that the kids are definitely individualized as well as community-oriented, like you were saying, and then you get into the simplicity of a community, and then you're coming to a LAN, like you said, or a championship. Like I work with Rocket League, and I have the privilege to work with the pro players and more behind the scenes. But when you walk through with a pro player and you see all of these different attendees that are coming in, and they're all decked out in whatever team they are, they look like they've been face painted like they're going to a USC game or whatever it is. It's just interesting to me that it is so personal and it is so community oriented. And so you're not hitting just one aspect of esports, you're hitting a very big 360 view of what that means on a bigger level. So it's really imperative that as a lifestyle experience, you're getting much more than just one piece to the whole thing. These kids want to be behind a screen, but they also want to be with their friends, and they want something that's going to last.
I also think the digital communities that are currently being formed are really at the beginning stages, and we don't even yet know what the possibilities are or what could really happen. And I think that's what makes it really exciting, is to see where it started from and how big it already is, and to think about what that could mean in 10 or 20 years when it's had a chance to blossom.
Now, looking at it from a parental point of view, right? Because obviously, if it's Little League or something like that, the parents will drive the kids to the game, and then they'll kind of sit and talk amongst themselves in the stands. And there's been some difficulty when it comes to esports because there's a disconnect there, because a lot of the parents didn't grow up with playing games and that kind of stuff, and even career opportunities in gaming like what we have now for youth and teenagers and all that. So what role do the parents need to play here in the lifestyle of their children, just to make sure that even as much as monitoring which Twitch channels they're watching, or monitoring what events they're watching and what events they want to go to across the country, like where do the parents fit in here, and what do they need to do to kind of nurture this?
So being one, which is kind of funny, but when I got put into Call of Duty back in 2010, and I hadn't gotten into the esports side of it yet, we came into that much later, I was getting calls when these kids were getting, free trips to LA, and they would call and say, what in the hell is going on with my child? He's going to LA. What does that mean? And I'm like, it's not sex trafficking, I swear. Like, this is a full-fledged experience for them to play the game in an interactive level. And it's gone from that to working with Attach and his mom, Kim, and learning how to be mom Attach. And now she's got a huge following, and she was able to recruit the other moms in COD who are now big influencers, going to Rocket League and working with the parents of Rocket League and having to see, a dad wearing his son's shirt at the game and being there every time and being a part of the experience. They're learning that the kid who can't throw trash away is now this amazing child who is playing at an adult level. And what's coming down with Fortnite was 1 minute they don't know Fortnite, now they have tutors, and then you have a child at 16 who won $3 million. So there's a lot more awareness. And I think the parents are starting to find that common ground with their kids. And it's not so, hey, don't play video games anymore because it's not going to get you anywhere, to now it's like, how do I become a part of that? So we've come and evolved a long way, and I think the parents are starting to understand their value. It's just a lot of them are uneducated and they don't understand. So it's taking some of us to be able to be that leadership and saying, no, it's not a bad thing. This is a good thing. Let's help you understand what your part is. So.
I also think the general good rules of parenting, let's say, are great to apply in this instance. Understand what your kid is spending a lot of time doing and engage with them and play with them just like you would any other sport or after-school activity. And I think that prevents a lot of issues. And I also think that as an industry, it's really exciting to be there in the very beginning, but we also have a responsibility to be good humans and not, promote gambling or things like that to younger audiences. And so I think that if all those things kind of work as good factors, it will evolve in a positive direction.
So coming from the clothing brand aspect of it, what do you look for in kind of not only the influencers and esports athletes that you choose to partner with, but also in what the kids and even the adults want to wear? Because obviously, adults will be like you just mentioned, they'll wear their son's jerseys or their son's favorite team's jerseys. So what do you look for to kind of make sure to capitalize on all of that and make sure that everyone's comfortable and that everyone has something that they can wear out and enjoy and think they look good in?
You want to talk about
I think comfort is a really big part of that, and I think while clothing looks good, and that's definitely intention, I think it's how you feel and how comfortable you are in the clothes that actually really makes a big difference. So when we're designing, we focus on, yes, making the clothing look great, but how can we really make this a really enjoyable piece of clothing to wear? And add to that kind of experience, and then I think the rest kind of follows along.
And then when we're picking talent to work with, I'd say that a lot of people have asked us what our equation is. We care about working with good people. We also care about individuals that have individual brands. So whether or not you're a starter or benched or have 100 concurrent viewers or 10,000, we really love someone that has a very unique, specific brand and a super engaged community. And I would say we know when someone isn't a perfect Ateyo ambassador. And I think we've been lucky enough to work with a range of people from a variety of titles, all sorts of ages, and kind of places in their career. And so we really care about people that we think our brand will resonate with, or people that have already consciously discussed apparel in a gaming context. Those are also extra special to find.
And how much do you work with the influencer or the cyber athlete to kind of create apparel that speaks to their brand and speaks to their clientele, really?
So we work a lot with the players. I'd say a huge part of our design process, which Breanne can add to, is testing products, making one sample, having a pro player play in it, and kind of getting their feedback. We work with them through the entire process. So from design to content creation, all of the content we produce is really specific to that specific player, not to their game, not to their team, to that player's community. And so really being focused on over-resonating with their audience is always our goal.
Yeah, and it's not just the pro players. We have a really kind of engaged community that we have emails with going back kind of constantly, or a Discord chat to really get their feedback too. Because while the pro scene is really important, we also really care deeply about the community and want to make sure that we're making product that is really exciting and kind of serves them.
So obviously when it comes to dealing with a lot of the esports athletes, they're generally younger than you see a lot of other professional athletes. So when dealing with the younger crowd, is it more about convincing their parents or dealing with their parents, or is it a lot, like you mentioned, educating the parents on what they need to kind of look out for and how they should be treating their potential celebrity child? Or what kind of goes into that to avoid some of the issues that you see other celebrities at young ages kind of get into?
I think I'm thrilled to hear what's being said, and I think the idea of hitting both the pro player, the community is really important. And I think everybody's still going to traditional sports, kind of like if you're a Cowboys fan, everybody in the family's wearing Cowboys, right? So you're learning that if your child is a part of Cloud9, the family's wearing Cloud9. So there's kind of that kind of commonality, but I think what's kind of trying to bleed over into esports, which you guys are doing a great job at, is trying to build that kind of similarity, but yet be very different, because esports isn't sports in that way. And so you've got kids who, again, are at home or they're sitting in front of a computer, but you also have a lot of interaction at events. So it does take a really different dynamic, just like you do in sports. We've just got to kind of build out both sides. Even with the parents, they're starting to get that idea of it. Fortnite, again, being one of the biggest ones, they're realizing that it's not just a video game. I mean, they're dancing in schools now. I mean, it's become much bigger than just a digital experience.
So, one of the things that we see a lot is, it may not be the child is on a team, but maybe they're a fan of a team, or maybe they're a fan of a certain player. At what point does it revolve on, or does it rely on the parents to kind of promote that? If it's, again, going back to professional sports, if you're a fan of Michael Jordan or something, the parents are perfectly fine to, yes, Michael Jordan, let's sit down and watch a basketball game and that kind of stuff, and take it to a basketball game when the Bulls are in town. How does that translate to esports, where perhaps their idol is a Twitch streamer, influencer, and not directly involved in competitions, or perhaps the competition is halfway across the country? How does a parent kind of plan with that, and how do you kind of keep the child interested and kind of interacting with it, but yet still, be part of that relationship?
I'm just going to laugh with you only because most of the CEOs in the major brands that we're working with that don't know anything about esports have come into esports because their children are in it. So what they're finding out is, what do their children get excited about? They're trying to research what that is, and they're finding that that's their common ground with their child. Rocket League, fortunately, has been something that I've been lucky to be a part of, and we have the biggest parent-child community, and that has really sparked into even bigger things at these LAN events, because now we're at 7,000 people who are coming to this, and you see that camaraderie family-wise, which has been really unique. And I think with that type of environment, you're going to see a lot more of that, but it's going to be built on what is the child doing, and the parent follows into it. And you'll see a lot of that kind of fall into then what they know traditionally to how are they then comparing that to their child at home, and how do they find that common ground. And a lot of these parents are gamers. They just forgot about Atari and realized that they were just as bad as gamers as their kids are, right? So.
And I also think that with the communities being digital and a lot of this stuff happening online, it's a pretty low barrier of entry to kind of sit down and watch with your kid and have them explain and see what's happening in Twitch chat and try and kind of learn the lingo. And I think that's an easy way, rather than just going straight into the events where you don't really know what's happening, to kind of start getting involved.
One of my favorite things is seeing parents at events, or parents with really young kids. I have a special soft spot for young girls at events. And I think that parents love to see their child happy or engage with the community. And I think that the in-person does a lot to dispel the negative stereotypes of gaming. And I think that depending on the game, the in-person activation looks drastically different. And so I also think Rocket League is uniquely positioned in that someone that doesn't understand a MOBA is going to have a hard time at TI and understand what's happening, and this is not a franchise league, and I don't understand at all what's going on. Whereas Rocket League, to me, is I use it all the time as an example. It's soccer with cars, and it's way harder than it looks. Mm-hmm. And immediately, everyone has a reference point of something of what's going on, and they can understand there are teams playing against each other playing this game. And so I think that those moments are really important, and I think that to me, Rocket League is a perfect middle ground. Even though it truly is an esport, it's way more palatable for someone that doesn't understand the difference between a MOBA and an FPS or something like that.
So you mentioned seeing little girls at events and things like that, and at the moment, esports is a very male-dominated industry. What can we do, especially on the lifestyle side, to kind of bring more women and more girls into the esports scene, either as fans or as players?
I think that's a very complicated question. I think the reality is, I think there's a lot of systematic things in place that make it really difficult. I think the positive that can be found is I think Blizzard has done a great job of making Overwatch more of a safe space, having representation across characters. I recognize it is not perfect. And so I think those sorts of moments are really important. And I think the newer kind of publishers are recognizing that. And so we always say how interesting it is going to different events, just how we're treated walking around. And it's drastically different. And I think that we can just try to be good actors in this ecosystem and hope there's real change.
And I'll too, I mean, compared to where it was in 2010, we've come a long way. And I think, is it Gen G that has their female team? And I think that in the beginning, it's definitely been male dominated. I know that there's a Discord channel with over 200 women on it that are in esports of some sense. You know, it may not be fully on an esports level, but there are definitely more women coming into it. I think the difference is that the women that are coming into it now are not trying to like take over. I think there's an ability of the equality where it's being done properly. I think the bullying stage is going to end, you know, in a matter of time, but I think the transition in esports is just so big and so fragile and fragmented that it's just going to take one step at a time. But there's no sense that women can't be in this industry. I mean, for me, being a woman, having been in a male-dominated field, I've never been disrespected in that respect. So it's just a matter of figuring out how does it work and working with people so that you can communicate effectively. And it's just taking leadership at this point to make sure it moves forward.
I think, yeah, we need to be really intentional about how we talk about women in the community and highlight the different positions that women hold. I think both in leadership, but also behind the scenes or in kind of positions that don't have much as of a face to it. And then I also think we have to be really intentional in making sure we're including women and having them at the table and going through those extra few steps to make sure that we're really getting a diverse perspective on everything.
And I think to add, we launched women's wear a few months ago and we sold out pretty quickly. And our intention with that was to highlight a variety of women within the ecosystem, whether they're community managers, whether they're famous on-air talent, or they're a college student that runs a League of Legends club at USC. And I think bringing those women together was great. And I think the community response was overwhelmingly positive, which was really nice to see. And I think it was really nice for people to see a lot of orgs. A few orgs have done a really intentional job of kind of hiring women and promoting them and have been incredibly successful. I think what Cloud9, I mean, I don't think it is a top line thing, like we just hire women, but they have a very female dominated kind of workforce, and it's pretty incredible that, I mean, no one can kind of argue with their success.
Okay, well, I have a question. So what can you tell us kind of, you know, when you're designing clothing and when you're selecting clothing for children, what can you tell us about like how that goes into making clothing for women that's going to stand out? Because, you know, if you look at, you know, NBA, NFL, that kind of stuff, you don't see a separation between these are the women's jerseys and these are the men's jerseys. So what do you do to kind of make things more fashionable for women? Because guys will just wear whatever, right? You know, we have no fashion sense, but some of us. But, you know, what do you do to make the clothing appeal more to women?
Yeah, I think women are willing to have a bit more fun with what they wear, which is really exciting to us, and that we can do a bit more trend-driven or interesting kind of shapes and cuts. And they're really responsive in giving us feedback, so it allows us to really listen and design into what they're looking for. And I think that there's much bigger and better ways to do clothes than kind of making a jersey pink. So I think exploring and really being cognizant of doing kind of things that serve the community and listening to the community rather than just the first kind of option.
Awesome. Well, that's all we've got for today. I want to thank all my panelists here. Where can they find you if they have questions for you or they want to look you up or reach out?
So you can find our business at Ateyo _ on all social platforms, and you can find me at Rachel Lipstick.
Yeah, Ateyo _ and I'm Breanne HP on social media.
You can find me on Twitter and Kim A. Meltzer, or Event Moms, Esports Event Mom. Can't even do that right.
Awesome. Thank you very much and appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you.